This time around on Logic, we're going to go over some file management, the last 4 tabs in the main window, and a little bit of editing. To start, we're going to make a new project. So with Logic open, go to File and New. Now this window comes up because Logic needs at least one track to be open. This window lets us choose what kind of track we're going to start with. For now, we're just going to hit Audio and hit Create. Now that we've made a new project, we need to choose where to save it. So let's go to File and Save. Now let's take a look at the hard drives, which is under the Devices. And I'm going to save this on my jump drive. I have a folder on the top called Junk, and that is where I'm going to put it. If you double click the name Project, we can change the name. I'm going to call it Work 1. If you look further down on this window, we can save this project as either a package or a folder. For now, we're just going to choose to save this as a package. The next thing we'll look at is whether or not the audio files is checked, and it is. So let's hit Save. This is now a default setup of a new project. Now, if you look to the left, you see that there's a window open. And from the last tutorial, we know that there's 2 windows that open on the left, the library and the inspector. We won't be needing this window, so let's close it and make some more space. If you turn your attention to the control bar on top, there's 2 tabs that are highlighted. 1, 2, 3, 4 is used as a bar of count before you start recording. We're not going to be recording, so let's turn this one off. And this one is click on and off. Click is most often used while recording, and it's there to hear the beats. Here's what it sounds like. And off, and back on again. We're not going to be recording on this tutorial, so let's just leave it off. Now let's take a look at the last 4 tabs in the control bar that we haven't looked at yet. The Browser, Apple Loops, Notepad, and List Editor. These tabs all open on the right side of the screen, and only one can be open at a time. And we're going to start by looking at the Browser. To better understand Browser, I'm going to download a file so we can import it. To get to D2L, I'm going to hold Command and then hit Tab a few times until I find Safari. I'm going to go around one more time just to show that I'm just hitting Tab repeatedly while holding Command. And here you see the D2L page for AP1. Now under the Content Browser, let's go to Logic Pro X, Work Downloads, and we're going to download Count 120 BPM. Now hit the download, and you can see that it goes to the download folder. So we're going to go back to Logic Audio by holding Command and hitting Tab until we find Logic Audio. Now within the Browser tab, there's 3 subcategories: Projects, Media, and All Files. Project contains the audio files that are within our project. We have neither imported or recorded any files, so there are no files in this folder yet. Media is basically just iTunes. You have your audio and your movies, and you can import anything from either library. And then we have All Files. This is where you have access to your hard drive and any files you might want to use in Logic. It's pretty much a window to the outside world of Logic. Now there's 3 subcategories within All Files. And the first is Project. This is the folder on your hard drive that your project is currently being saved. As you can see, this is going to Jump Drive and then Junk. And this is the only file in the Junk folder. I'm going to get out of that folder and go somewhere else to show that when we go back to Project, it goes right back to Jump Drive, Junk, and there's our Work 1 Logic file there. The next category is Home. These are your user files on the Macintosh that you are using. For example, we downloaded something to the download folder, and you can see the download folder here. Before we import that file from the download folder, let's look at the tab Computer first. This is where you get access to all your hard drives. As you can see, the Jump Drive is right here. At school, the temp drive would also be in here. So let's go back to Home and go to Downloads. And here is the Count 120 BPM file that we had downloaded earlier. Before I import this file, I want to go over why you should never start your project on bar 1. You should always start your track later in the timeline. This way you give yourself some room in the front in case you want to add something later. For example, I always start at bar 9. Most songs and tracks are 4 and 8 bar phrases, and this gives me 8 bars in the front of wiggle room to add an intro or some sound effect that I might want to have later. So there's no better time than now to get in the habit of starting your track later in the timeline. So back to importing this file, what I'm going to do is put the playhead on the bar I want it at, so I'm going to put the playhead at 9, then I'm going to double click count 120 BPM, and then you can see that it goes right to where the playhead is positioned, and you hit import. Now we've imported our first audio file. I'm going to hit play. 4, 3, 2, 1. So another way to import a track is it's actually easier, it's just to drag it in. When you drag it in, you can see it actually makes a new track for you available. You can just put it on the old track, but let's put it below just to show that it makes a new track. Let's click this and delete it because we don't need it. It'll take 2 deletes, first for the audio file, second for the track. Now that we've imported our first audio file, let's close the browser, and now we're going to spend a little time editing this track before we move on to the rest of the tabs. So for this exercise in editing, this track says 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's edit this so it says 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first way we're going to do this is by hitting the Command and drag, which gives us this marquee window. I'm going to hit Command and drag and grab all of bar 12. Then we'll hit Command C for copy. We'll then make another marquee on bar 15. And then to paste what we just copied, we hit Command V. So the next thing I want to copy and paste is number 2. So it goes 4, 3, 2, 1. 11 is 2. Copy. And paste. So number 10 is 3. Copy. And go to 17 and paste. And 4 is on 9. Copy. And we'll put that on 18. Paste. So let's listen to what it says. 1, 2, 3, 4. There, we made our first edit. I'm going to hit Command Z for undo and get rid of the last few steps that we've done so we have a clean slate, and we'll edit this again in a different way. This time we're going to select the track and place the playhead where we want to splice it, and then use the command split at the playhead, which is Command T. To show that the track needs to be selected, I'm going to deselect it and then put the playhead at 11, and now I'll hit Command T, and you can see that nothing is happening. Now I'll select the track, Command T, and it splices it right where the playhead is. And Command T on 12, and it splices it one more time. So I know that bar 12 is 1. To copy it, you hold Option and you drag what track you want to copy. So let's drag this to bar 15, and you can see it copied it. Next we'll Option drag bar 11, Option drag bar 10 to 17, and Option drag bar 9 to 18. And now we'll hit play and see what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's another edit. Let's undo this and get back to a clean slate. And I don't have enough undo steps to go back to a clean slate, so this is a good opportunity to use another tool. This is where all the edit tools are located. We're going to get into this a lot deeper, but for right now we're just going to use the glue tool. The glue tool is going to glue these two tracks together. We're going to hold Shift and click both, and it glues them together. And let's go back to the pointer tool, and I'm going to show you one more way to split these tracks up. I'm going to start by making a marquee window on 10, that is Command and drag, and then we just click right in the middle of that selection. And you can see that it's split it on both sides of that selection. Let's do the same to bar 12. Command, drag, and click. And then we'll use Option and drag to piece these together. Option, drag, went a little bit over, put it back, and then Option, drag. Let's hit play and see what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll hit Command Z and undo everything. Looks like we need to use the glue tool. On second thought, we're not going to use this anymore, so back to the pointer tool and delete this audio. The next thing we're going to look at is the Apple loops. This tab gives us a cool way of searching the sampled loops that come with Logic. We'll start by looking at the bottom half of the window that comes up from this tab. Here is where you find the name of the sample. Next to that is how many beats are in that sample. Then you have the original tempo and then the original key. We're going to goof around a little bit, so let's go up to where it says loops and we'll pick a genre. I'm going to pick Tech House. You can pick whatever you want. I'm now going to move my playhead to 9 because that's where I want to start my track. I'm going to start by searching for a beat, so I'm going to use the search filter and put it to beats. And looking through this, I think I'm going to try this chord beat. And I'm going to drag it up to 9. Import and play. If you look up here, it's pretty loud. I'm going to turn it down, and I want the track just to go over that circle just a little bit so it's in the yellow. As you add more tracks together, it's going to even get louder, and we don't want to have any digital distortion, so let's start with level that's just going over that circle in the volume slider. I'm going to copy this over a few times by using Option Drag. So now I have 8 bars. If you look down here, you can see that the original tempo is 125. I'm going to make this track 128 to show that these Apple loops conform to whatever tempo that you're using. I'm now going to hit cycle and loop this 8-bar phrase. Now that we have a beat, I'm going to add a bass. So turn that filter off and now click the search filter for bass. Now if you look down here, these are the bass loops that are in Tech House. I'm going to try this drum machine bass. Now when it hits bar 1, the bass comes in and you can hear it play along with your beat. If you want to hear what a different bass sounds like, all you do is click it and then it'll start on the next downbeat. And it'll just play along with the beat. Let's listen to a few more. Alright, that's good enough. Let's bring that into a new track. Now that it's in the track, I'm going to Option Drag and copy this out 8 bars. I see that my loop is changing. I'm going to click the edge of it and bring it back to bar 9. So now it's an 8-bar loop again. And now I'm going to adjust the volume of the bass so it fits in a little better. Now that we have this, I'm going to add another beat, which is known as a topper. A topper has more high-end energy. It's usually a hi-hat and a snare. And if you look at the back of the name, it says topper. And we'll just listen to a few of these. And there's one that says clapping hat. Let's see what this sounds like. And that'll work. Let's add this to the track. I'll add this, so Option Drag, copy, and I'm going to have the last 4 bars of this 8-bar phrase and change the loop back to the 8 bars. Alright, to change this up a little, I'm going to change the genre. I'm going to go to Deep House. And if you look, the original tempo on these are 120. And I'm going to find a synth, and you can see the original key that these synths are in by looking at this column. I think the bass was in A, so I'm just going to look at a bunch of A's. You can adjust the volume for this sample finder down here. And this will work, so I'm going to add another track. And Option drag to copy it. And I'm going to switch the cycle to 8 bars again. And that is Apple Loops. I encourage you to just goof around and have fun with this. One more thing I would like to look at is I think we have enough tools now to personalize these Apple Loops by chopping them up a little bit. So instead of having a 2-bar phrase, let's make this a 1-bar phrase by using Command-T at the playhead. And we'll delete the second half, and we'll Option drag the first half to where the second half was. I'm going to delete a few beats on bar 12 by using the Command drag and delete. Let's see what this sounds like. I'm going to delete a little bit here on bar 14 as well. So there's a basic look at Apple Loops and just messing around with it a little bit. I encourage you to mess around some more. Next, let's look at notepads. There's 2 subcategories in this tab, Projects and Track. Project is where you can write notes about your project. And Track is where you can write individual notes per track. You can write notes to yourself while you're making the track and say what you like about it, what you don't like about it, where you want to mute it, and then you don't forget later on. I'll write a quick little note on this track. Now let's switch to the bass track. You can see that there's nothing written here yet, so I'll write another little note. And now if I switch to this chord layer track, you can see there's nothing written here either. I'm going to write another little note. And now we can go back and look at the tracks, and as you select the track, you can see the notes that were written for that track. And let's switch to project, and you can see that when you select tracks, it doesn't change because it's notes for the project. And finally, the last tab that we haven't looked at on the main window is Event List. This gives you a text type list view of important events related to specific tracks, or the project as a whole. You can see as I select these audio files in the track that it highlights its spot in the event list, and it shows you the beat position, the name, what track number, and the duration. You can see that there's 4 more subcategories within the event list. We have event, marker, tempo, and signature. If you have a track that has any tempo changes, key changes, or time signature changes, this window becomes a lot more important because you can see all the events all in one place. So for a quick review on the last 4 tabs on the main window, we have gone over the browser, the Apple Loops, the notepads, and the event list editor. All 4 of these tabs open on the right side of the screen, and only one can be open at a time. And that's it for this tutorial.